Good morning and welcome to my channel. Today I would like to guide you through how to make your own sourdough starter at home, which is a great base for sourdough bread. And I actually put my sourdough starter in a couple other breads that I make, like cranberry walnut and apricot golden raisin walnut. That way my bread unfreeze much better and stay fresh longer. What you will need to make your own sourdough starter is, of course, a clean tall jar, a wrapper, so you can put it on top of your jar. And the best in the beginning is the rye flour. When you first start making it, 7 to 10 days are the most important. And rye flour is best for success. If you don't have it, you can use all-purpose flour. Just remember, unbleached. After your sourdough matures, then you can only use the all-purpose flour. But I'm telling you, the first 7 to 8 days, most important. This is when your sourdough is maturing and it's fighting good bacteria with the bad bacteria, and after 10 days, you only have the good bacteria and it's ready to make beautiful, tasty breads. Tools: thermometer, wooden spoon to mix it all up, or silicone, scale, flour, and water. I try to keep my water at about 80 degrees. That works the best. So here I have about 100 grams of rye flour, while scale is needed at first. Once you get past 2 weeks and you feel comfortable with it, you won't need the scale anymore. You will just use spoon to put that's what I do. 3 tablespoons of flour and then 3 tablespoons of water. And you just have to pay attention to the consistency. So you won't need the scale anymore. When the consistency is the same every time, and you will get it. We are creatures of habit. Repetition is the best teacher. At first, scale 100 grams of flour, and rye flour is a little bit heavier than all-purpose flour, so that's why the scale is necessary at first. So you will just put 100 grams of flour, and that is about 2/3 of a cup. 2/3. And it will get messy. All those videos you see with everything nice and clean, it's not always like that. It takes a while to clean it and then start videotaping again so it looks beautiful, but flour is messy. And now time for water. And like I said, I try to keep it at 80 degrees. That's why thermometer is really helpful here. And all you do is just mix it. Stir it well. And try to scrap it off the edges so you can actually see the progress and see the bubbles. When your jar is all dirty, you won't be able to really see the little bubbles forming. So once it is all mixed up, you will cover it and leave it until the next day. Looking through websites, you will find many ways of covering the jar, and some of them will say, gauze. Some of them will say a lid, loose lid. When I started, I kept reading every day. I wanted to be successful, and I kept changing. One day I was doing the wrapper, another day I was doing the lid, another day I was doing the gauze. Don't change it. Consistency. Consistency is very important. This works for me best, and it's easy. All you do, put a rubber band around it, mark how much you have it so you see if it's growing or not, and you leave it alone. You leave it alone in a warm place. Not hot, not cold, and you will see the action in there in a few days. So I would like to show you how thick it is so you can see. It's like thick pancake batter, and this is how it should be. I hope you can see it here. I'll cover it and leave it until the next day. Good morning. Day number 2. We have some action. My sourdough starter doubled in size, and you can see those bubbles forming. So, yay! I'm very happy. As you can see, it did double in size. So day number 2. I will take some of it out, as every day it's going to be growing and I don't want my jar to overflow. So I will take about half of it out. And now it's time to put another 100 grams of flour and water. And water should be about 80 degrees. Playing with flour can be messy. That's why I have my cutting board here so I don't mess up my table. And 100 grams of water, which is about half a cup, a little bit less than half a cup. And all we do is mix it all up. You mix it until you don't see any dry flour. So everything has to be incorporated nicely together. And I will come close to the jar to show you the consistency of it. And one thing that I remembered when I first started doing this, every morning when you wake up, sourdough starter will become more loose, and it's okay. When you feed it, it's going to be thick, but overnight it becomes loose, and that's just how it is. Nothing to worry about. Okay, I will try to come closer so you can see how thick it is. And always clean the edges of the jars. So as you can see, I have the rubber right here, and this is how much it is right now. Once it's all mixed together nicely, no dry flour visible, cover it again and use the same cover. Be consistent. So put it away. It is about noon right now, and it's been about 4 hours since I fed the sourdough starter. And again, this is day 2. But I wanted to show you how much you can see the bubbles forming and how much it doubled. I think it didn't double, it tripled. Look at those bubbles, and this is where I had it 4 hours ago, and this is where it is right now. So it did triple in size. I'm a very happy baker. That's what I want to see. And actually there is one more thing I didn't mention in the beginning. Temperature is the key to it. It is very hard when you have 4 different seasons. And if you heat the house the same every day or keep it on cool when it's hot the same every day, if you cannot have the same temperature, then unfortunately you will have to move your sourdough starter. I usually keep it in the kitchen, but if it gets, I live in Florida, and if it gets really, really hot, especially when I'm cooking or baking, then I have to put it away in another room so it's not too hot. You have to remember that if it's too hot, it can kill the yeast, and if it's too low, it's just not going to be so bubbly and active and ready to bake those breads. So I'll see you tomorrow now. Once your sourdough starter is ready, you can bake beautiful, delicious, crunchy breads in your own home, and you won't go back to store anymore. Good morning. Today is day number 3. And we do the same thing. Take the cover out and get some of it out. There is many places when you look online on websites that will tell you to measure 100 grams or 200 grams to take out depending on the day. But since I have this rubber here, I don't need to mess up my scale and other dishes and tools. I'll just take out whatever I need to take out to have exactly the same amount I started with. It's just less messy. So clear your jar so you can mark it correctly. And again, 100 grams of flour and 100 grams of water, about 80 degrees. I'll just put it all in, and water. Mix it up. Mix it up until you don't see any dry flour anymore. Cover and leave it out again. Today, day 3, is the day when you start feeding your sourdough twice a day. And you will do the same thing as this morning, right now, as today, for the next few days until day 7. And on day 7, you will decide if your sourdough is ready or not. And of course, based on how much it doubles in size, if there are bubbles, how much life it is in it. It all depends on the temperature you have in your house. Different climates different seasons. So it might take up to 10 days, but usually day 7 is the day you can start seeing real action, start baking. Cover again. And I will see you in 12 hours in the evening. There is actually one more thing I wanted to add. With all the breads I bake, sometimes I have leftovers. I mean, fresh is best. After 4 days, the bread is not exactly fresh anymore. Still good for toasting, but if I have leftover bread, I just cut it into small pieces and leave it to dry. And then I make my own breadcrumbs. And why? Well, I don't want to waste my bread, but also, so when you look at the ingredients on a regular label, you can see how many, and when you make your own bread, you will have 5. So it is so much healthier to use your own breadcrumbs. Hello. I know I said I will come back in the evening, and it's not that time yet. But I decided to show you, it's like 6 p.m. right now, and I fed my starter at 9 a.m. What happens? Triples in size after 4 or 5 hours. And when it triples in size, it's its peak. And peak is when the sourdough starter is the strongest to bake your wonderful, delicious, tasty breads. And after its peak, it will lose the volume and go down a little bit, and you see it. Don't panic, just be patient. When you feed it, you give it its power. And the older it gets, the better it is. When you go on Etsy, there are some people who are selling dry sourdough starters, 100-year-olds, 150-year-olds. And those are the best. I mean, that's the beauty of it. This is a real natural bacteria, not human-made, the yeast that you buy in the store. It's the healthiest bread you can make. And you can have it forever. I will see you in the evening. And welcome again. It is evening, around 11, day 3. It's feeding time, morning and evening. And if you can see, it is still pretty high. So the action going on is great. What I need to do again is take some out. If I don't take it out, I might find it the next morning that it's overflowing and my kitchen counter will be all messed up. So my flour goes in and my water goes in, and again stir it well. Tomorrow morning we'll do the same thing, morning and night, and the next few days until day 7. And here is my rubber band. Cover again. And repeat steps from today for the next few days. Good night. Good morning again. Next day, same thing. We take covers out, take some of it out. It has a right smell, so it is working towards success. And again, 100 grams of flour, 100 grams of water. And day 4 is exactly the same as day 3. Feeding morning and feeding in the afternoon. Stir it until there is no dry spots of flour visible. Clean the edges so you can see the progress of it. Once every couple weeks I do change the jars because flour sticks to the edges, and when it gets crusty, it's really hard to clean it. Now I will put this up just a little bit to mark where it is. Cover again. And keep the same cover, don't change it. Like I mentioned before, it likes consistency. So in the evening, it will be exactly the same. Day 5, exactly the same. Day 6, exactly the same. And day 7. And I think I will just see you on day 7. Hello again. It is day 5. I did not wait till day 7 because I got excited and I want to share this excitement with you. I can help it. I love sourdough breads, my favorite breads. So today, on day 5, it is about 3 p.m. and I fed my starter around 8 a.m. So the peak was already there and now it's coming down. But still, you can see, and I want to show you, how visible the bubbles are. And the bubbles are exciting. So every side of the jar, you can see those big bubbles here, and it's a great sight. I know this sourdough is going to be very good for making my sourdough breads. I will see you on day 7. Thank you. Good morning. This is day number 7. And again, those beautiful big bubbles. Day number 7, that means I can start making breads out of it. And when I fed it last time, it was last night around 10 o'clock. You can still see at 6:30 in the morning that it's still active, strong and active. So again, I will discard some of it, feed it, and once I see they started growing again, 3-4 hours, I can actually make my bread. Finally, after all this time, 7 days, today I can bake the bread. So 100 grams of flour, and I mix half the rye and half all-purpose right now. I don't need rye bread anymore as my starter is strong. And 100 grams of water. Mix it well. So this is best. I forgot about it. Clean the edges of the jar so you can see exactly what's going on. And here we go. I will put this up to mark where I have it right now, and I have a little bit more, but I will bake 2 sourdough breads, and I will use about 950 grams of flour. So I need a little bit more than just for one. So here we go. I always stretch it, always use the same cover. Now about 3-4 hours. It all depends on the temperature. Temperature is very, very important. If it's cold, it can survive up to 7 to 10 days if you put it in the fridge. But if it's too hot, it can kill your starter. So me living in Florida, sometimes it is unbelievably hot inside the house. The air conditioning cannot keep up, especially summertime. So I will have to take it and put it somewhere that's not as hot. I'll find a place for it. But during colder months, I always keep it in the kitchen as my kitchen is used the most and kitchen generates heat. The important part here today, I'll just have to watch it. If I see it dribbling, then I can pull up my flour, all the ingredients I need, and make those delicious breads. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your breads and happy baking. And after all this wait, few hours later, I can bake my sourdough breads. You can see the beautiful crust. A few more minutes and those will be ready. Welcome again. So we went through the sourdough starter and now it's day 10. I have baked 2 breads already. What if I need to go for a week? Visit friends, vacation time, anywhere. So after feeding my sourdough starter, as I do every day, I would wait a couple hours and then just put it in the fridge. And in the fridge, it can stay there for a week, up to 10 days. I try not to push it to 10 days. You can still wake it up, but it happened when I had to leave it out for 9-10 days and I was still able to wake it up. It took me 2-3 days though. So what do you do when you come back from vacation and take it out of the fridge? So I want to show you. So here is my sourdough starter that's been in the fridge for a week. So I'll just take it out, wait a couple hours so it's room temperature, and then I will feed it as I do every morning. And now I have both of them, the fresh one that I just fed and the one I took out of the fridge. So both of them need 2 hours wait, at least 2 hours wait. After a couple hours, this one can go in the fridge for a week, so I don't have to worry about feeding it every day. And this one, after 2 hours, when it gets to room temperature, I'll just feed it as I do every morning. And it takes usually a couple days to wake it up and have the full power to bake your bread. Sometimes you will notice after you take it out of the fridge that it will have this coating on the surface. Just toss it out. Take a spoon and toss it out. Don't worry about it. And then just mix it with flour and water just like you did for the last 7-10 days. The first day, I would not bake my sourdough bread because if it was there in the fridge for that long, it will need a couple days to really regain its full power and potential. But that's what it is. Just take it out of the fridge, wait a couple hours, put flour, put water, always the same amount, The ratio is always the same. And stir it and leave it. In the evening, you do the same thing. The next morning, you just watch it. If it triples in size, doubles in size, then you can bake your bread again. Another way of checking if your sourdough starter is ready is testing it if it floats. If you have a water, like a bowl of water, you can take a spoon out and put it in that water, and if it flows, then it's a good starter. So that's just, I thought about it today, like, I never mentioned it before. So that's another way of checking it. But usually you just see it, you feed it in the morning, and a few hours later, when it really doubles in size, you see those bubbles, and that smell is a little bit sour smell, but pleasant smell. Then it's ready and you can bake your bread. When the smell starts being unpleasant and you will have, lots of coating and the color changes, then yeah, pay attention to it because it might be going bad. I hope this will help you and answer some of the questions. I tried to think about how I started and how I learned and what I researched and what I've done, and all the mistakes, all the steps, just to remember what to tell you to make it easier, guide you through it. Hopefully you will succeed and be happy. This will be enough to answer all of your questions. So again, thank you very much, and until next time, enjoy your beautiful breads.